Great achievements don't arrive with a drum roll. They accumulate, quietly, then unmistakably. The truth beneath lasting success is simple. Small actions, repeated with intention, become decisive advantages over time. That is the compound effect. It is impartial. It multiplies whatever you do consistently, useful or not. The page read, the minute trained, the dollar saved, the message sent. None makes headlines today. Together, they tilt your future. Most people chase crescendos and miss the rhythm. The edge belongs to those who build systems, guard attention, and let time do the heavy lifting. Early progress feels flat. Hold the line and the curve tilts. Results arrive faster than effort would suggest. Define clear behaviors. Reduce friction to begin. Protect one block of focus time. Track what matters. Own your choices. Identity follows action, and action sustains identity. This is how you move ahead of 99% of people, not by being extraordinary once, but by being consistent always. Chapter 1. The invisible force running your life. Every life is steered by a force so subtle, most people never notice it. It does not arrive with fanfare. It does not announce a turning point. It simply accumulates, quietly, relentlessly, until one day you look up and realize it has shaped everything: your health, your work, your relationships, your future. That force is the compound effect. At its core, the compound effect is the mathematics of behavior. Small, consistent actions, repeated over time, don't add, they multiply. A single decision looks trivial in isolation, but repeated hundreds of times, it becomes architecture. It lays foundations. It builds walls. It raises the roof over the life you ultimately inhabit. You feel it every morning you choose to begin or defer, in the 5 minutes you spend learning or avoid, in the tiny promises you keep or break. The immediate result is barely perceptible, and that is precisely why this force is so powerful. It works beneath awareness, beyond applause, where discipline lives and drift begins. Consider the rhythm of a day. A short workout completed, a page turned, a conversation approached with honesty, a dollar set aside. None of these will change your life tonight, but return tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. The effect compounds, strength accumulates, knowledge layers, trust deepens, savings grow. What was invisible becomes inevitable. The same principle governs decline. Skip the movement, ignore the book, choose friction over grace, spend what you do not have. One choice feels harmless. A week still looks normal, but a year tells the truth. The compound effect is neutral. It magnifies direction. It rewards what you repeat and punishes what you neglect. It is not sentimental. It is exact. Most people overestimate what one dramatic effort will do and underestimate what a quiet practice will become. They search for breakthroughs and overlook the day-to-day. They wait for permission, a perfect plan, the right season, while time compounds their indecision. The reality is simpler and harder. Consistency beats intensity when intensity cannot be sustained. Progress requires design. If your environment pulls you away from the behaviors you value, compounding will work against you. If your circle normalizes distraction, delay, and cynicism, compounding will embed them. Curate inputs, align routines, reduce friction for good actions, and increase friction for poor ones. Make the right decision, the easy decision, and compounding will take it from there. Measurement sharpens compounding. What you track becomes visible. What is visible becomes manageable. Keep promises you can count. Minutes read, steps taken, reps completed, dollars saved, conversations initiated. Not to impress anyone, but to teach your brain what matters. Feedback creates course correction. Course correction creates momentum. Responsibility is the catalyst. When you own your choices, you own your trajectory. Blame pauses progress. Responsibility accelerates it. The compound effect will not negotiate with excuses. It simply reflects them. The moment you accept full agency, no matter how small the step, you reclaim the lever that moves your future. The psychology of compounding is patience. The early phase feels unrewarding because the curve is flat. You are investing with minimal visible return. This is the wasteland where most quit. But beneath the surface, alignment is forming. Habits are wiring. Identity is shifting from I try to I am. Stay the course long enough and the curve tilts. Effort meets momentum. Momentum meets inevitability. Think about energy. It is expensive to start and cheap to continue. The first page, the first run, the first call, the first saved dollar. These carry friction. Reduce the starting cost. Lower the bar to begin. 2 minutes of reading. 1 set of push-ups. 1 outreach message. 1 transfer to savings. Repetition removes ceremony. Ceremony is what procrastination craves. Simplicity is what consistency needs. Clarity matters. Choose a direction worth compounding. Vague goals produce vague actions. Define what better looks like today, not only someday. If you value health, specify walk after lunch, cook once, sleep earlier. If you value growth, specify read a chapter, take notes, practice 1 skill. If you value connection, specify send 1 message, express 1 appreciation, listen 5 minutes longer. Precision gives compounding a path. Guard attention. The compound effect rides on focus. Fragmented minutes rarely multiply. Create a boundary around your high-value behaviors. A time, a place, a cue. Make it non-negotiable. Treat it like an appointment with your future self. Presence turns repetition into mastery. Mastery turns small actions into outsized returns. Expect resistance. Your brain prefers comfort to change. It will offer clever reasons to skip, delay, downgrade. Recognize the voice and answer with evidence. A streak you will not break. A promise stamped in time. A standard that defines you. Identity is the strongest fuel. When your actions say who you are, compounding becomes self-sustaining. Embrace boredom. The extraordinary is built from the ordinary, performed well and repeated. The impulse to chase novelty is the enemy of depth. Choose craft. Show up when it is dull. Deliver when no one is watching. The compound effect favors those who respect the work itself, not only the results it brings. Prepare for plateaus. Progress often arrives in steps, not a smooth slope. Do not confuse a quiet phase with a dead end. Keep the input steady. Let compounding do its quiet math. Break the plateau with micro-optimizations. Improve form, adjust timing, refine tools, seek a mentor, iterate the system. Small upgrades, applied consistently, unlock the next surge. Leverage keystone habits. Some actions produce second-order benefits. Sleep improves judgment. Reading improves language and thinking. Exercise improves energy and mood. Gratitude improves relationships. Choose one keystone and let its effects ripple. Compounding love's leverage. It multiplies what multiplies. The invisible force running your life is already in motion. You cannot escape it, but you can direct it. Begin with one intentional action. Repeat it until it feels inevitable. Align your environment so it becomes easier to continue than to stop. Measure what matters. Protect your attention. Honor your identity. Let time do the heavy lifting. This is the compound effect. It is quiet, impartial, and unstoppable. It is the engine under every sustainable success and the undertow beneath every gradual decline. See it clearly. Respect its power. And from this moment forward, choose the direction it will magnify. Chapter 2: Choices, the silent architects of destiny. A quiet heartbeat, soft thunder far off, between one breath and the next, a decision is made. It is small. It is ordinary. It is the kind of choice that slips by unnoticed, then returns later as consequence. These are the moments that build a life. Every choice is a vote. Each time you choose to read instead of scroll, to walk instead of sit, to listen instead of react, you cast a vote for a future self. One vote is insignificant. 1,000 votes are decisive. The compound effect does not reward drama. It rewards direction. It multiplies the pattern of your choices until that pattern becomes your reality. Picture an invisible ledger that records each decision. Some entries are deposits, a page read, a call returned, a dollar saved, a kind word spoken. Some entries are withdrawals, a promise broken, a purchase made on impulse, a harsh remark. The balance is not decided by a single entry, but by the pattern of entries over time. Small deposits, compounded, become advantage. Small withdrawals, compounded, become deficit. The math is simple and relentless. Choice is not merely an act of will, it is an act of design. Willpower is finite. Systems are durable. Make the right choice the easy choice. Place the book where you will see it. Move the phone out of reach. Automate savings. Pre-commit to a short walk after lunch. Structural nudges reduce friction and turn intention into habit. When environment and habit align, choices require less heroism and more habit. We overvalue the dramatic and undervalue the mundane. We wait for a signal, a surge, a perfect moment. Meanwhile, time multiplies whatever we repeat. The person who wins is rarely the one who tries hardest once. It is the one who shows up again and again. Consistency outperforms intensity when intensity cannot be sustained. The quiet accumulation of small, smart choices outpaces sporadic bursts of effort every time. Tension lives in the small moments. The choice to reply kindly when tired. The choice to practice for 5 minutes when discouraged. The choice to save a small amount when tempted to spend. Each choice is a vote for identity. Votes become a majority. Majority becomes who you are. Act like the person you want to be, and repetition will make that identity real. Identity is not discovered. It is constructed through repeated action. Resistance will arrive in the quiet hours and in the clever excuses. Answer it with tiny thresholds. 2 minutes of reading, 1 set of push-ups, a single message to reconnect. Lower the start cost until beginning is inevitable. Track the streak. Make the repeat the reward. Measurement turns invisible choices into visible progress and keeps the ledger honest. A streak is a story you tell yourself. Protect it. Guard attention. The compound effect rides on focus. Fragmented minutes rarely multiply. Protect one block of time each day for your highest value behavior. Treat it as an appointment with your future self. Presence turns repetition into mastery. Mastery turns small actions into outsized returns. The world will always offer urgent distractions. Choose important consistencies. Expect plateaus. Progress often arrives in steps, not a smooth slope. Do not mistake a quiet phase for a dead end. Keep the input steady. Make micro-adjustments. Refine form, tweak timing, seek perspective. Small upgrades, applied consistently, unlock the next surge. Patience is not passive, it is persistent refinement. Leverage keystone habits. Some actions produce second-order benefits. Sleep improves judgment. Movement improves energy. Reading improves thinking. Gratitude improves relationships. Choose one keystone and let its effects ripple. Compounding love's leverage. It multiplies what multiplies. Language matters. The words you use to describe yourself and your choices shape future choices. Replace "I'll try" with "I will." Replace "someday" with today's step. Small shifts in phrasing reduce ambiguity and increase follow-through. Clarity turns intention into action. Design for the long game. Short-term wins are seductive, but often hollow. The real advantage belongs to those who build systems that survive boredom and setbacks. Make the right action the default. Reduce decision fatigue by narrowing options. Pre-decide the non-essential, so your energy is reserved for what matters most. Accountability accelerates compounding. Share your commitments with someone who will notice. Public promises create friction against backsliding. A partner, a coach, a small group, these are amplifiers. They do not replace personal responsibility, but they make it harder to drift. Forgiveness matters too. The ledger will show withdrawals. You will miss days. You will fail. The compound effect is not a moral judge. It is a mathematician. Reset quickly. Learn the lesson. Return to the pattern. The speed of recovery often matters more than the size of the setback. Make decisions with the end in mind. Imagine the life you want and reverse engineer the daily choices that create it. If you want clarity, choose quiet mornings. If you want strength, choose consistent movement. If you want influence, choose to listen more than you speak. Small, aligned choices, repeated, become the architecture of destiny. Choices are impartial architects. They do not judge motive. They only multiply direction. Choose deliberately. Protect your attention. Build systems that favor the future you want. In the quiet between breaths, in the small decisions you make without fanfare, you are building your life. Choose well, and time will do the rest. Chapter 3. Habits. The rhythm of success. A metronome clicks. A single drop of water, repeated. Rhythm forms. Habit is the pulse beneath your days. It is the quiet machinery that turns intention into reality and repetition into identity. Habits begin as choices. You decide to stand, to read, to breathe differently. At first, each act feels deliberate. Then, with repetition, it becomes automatic. The brain economizes. It builds a groove. What once required effort becomes effortless. This is the gift of habit. It frees energy for higher work. It is also the danger. It can automate the very things that sabotage you. Listen to the sound of repetition. The metronome does not hurry. It does not judge. It simply keeps time. When you align your life with a steady rhythm. Momentum grows. Small wins compound. 10 minutes of focused practice, repeated daily, becomes mastery. One small saving, repeated, becomes security. A single kind response, repeated, becomes trust. Habits are the scaffolding of long-term success. Design matters more than willpower. Willpower is a muscle that tires. Systems are durable. Make the right action the easiest action. Place the book on your pillow. Put the phone in another room. Automate the transfer to savings. Pre-commit to a walk after lunch. These are not heroic moves. They are architectural. They change the environment so your future choices require less struggle and more follow-through. Not all habits are equal. Some are keystones. Sleep well, and your judgment sharpens. Move daily, and your energy expands. Read regularly, and your thinking deepens. Choose one keystone and let its effects cascade. Small, high-leverage habits produce second-order benefits that accelerate compounding. The habit loop is simple. Cue, routine, reward. Notice the cue. Narrow the routine. Clarify the reward. Make the cue obvious. Make the routine tiny. Make the reward immediate. Tiny habits win because they lower the start cost. 2 minutes of reading. 1 set of push-ups. 1 paragraph of writing. Begin small. Scale by repetition. Measurement turns repetition into progress. A habit without feedback is a ghost. Track minutes read, steps taken, calls returned. A streak is a story you tell yourself. Protect it. Measurement creates accountability and invites tiny course corrections. Tiny course corrections, repeated, change trajectories. Expect friction. The brain prefers comfort. It will offer reasons to delay. Answer with thresholds so small they are ridiculous. 1 minute, 1 paragraph, 1 step. Lower the bar until beginning is inevitable. Celebrate the repeat, not the result. The ritual of showing up is the real victory. Language shapes action. Replace "I'll try" with "I will." Replace "someday" with today's step. Words narrow ambiguity and increase follow-through. Identity follows action. Act like the person you want to be, and repetition will make that person real. Habit stacking accelerates adoption. Anchor a new habit to an existing one. After I make coffee, I will read 1 page. After I brush my teeth, I will do 2 minutes of stretching. The existing habit provides the cue. The new habit rides the momentum. Small linkages reduce friction and compound faster than isolated efforts. Forgiveness matters. You will miss days. You will falter. The ledger is not a moral sentence, it is a record. Reset fast. Return to the rhythm. The speed of recovery often matters more than the size of the setback. One mistake does not erase months of practice. One quick return preserves momentum. Refine with intention. Habits are not fixed. They are improvable. Adjust timing, tweak cues, refine rewards, improve form before increasing volume. Micro-optimizations compound. A small improvement in technique repeated yields outsized gains over time. Guard attention. Habits compound only when fed by focus. Fragmented minutes rarely multiply. Protect 1 block of time each day for your highest value behavior. Treat it as an appointment with your future self. Presence turns repetition into mastery. Mastery turns small actions into outsized returns. Expect plateaus. Progress often arrives in steps, not a smooth slope. Do not mistake a quiet phase for a dead end. Keep the input steady. Make micro-adjustments. Seek perspective. The next surge often begins one small improvement after you felt nothing was moving. Leverage friction intentionally. Make bad choices harder. Put the snacks on a high shelf. Log out of social apps. Use a password you must type. Increase the cost of distraction so the path of least resistance favors the life you want. Accountability accelerates compounding. Share your commitments with someone who will notice. A partner, a coach, a small group, these are amplifiers. Public promises create friction against backsliding. They do not replace personal responsibility, but they make it harder to drift. Habits can build success or sabotage it. They are neutral tools that multiply direction. Choose your rhythm. Design your environment. Protect your attention. Let the metronome of small, consistent actions carry you forward. A metronome clicks, a single drop of water, repeated. Over time, the rhythm carves stone. Over time, the rhythm becomes you. Chapter 4. Momentum. The silent engine. Wind rises. A distant train hums along iron tracks. Waves gather, then roll. Momentum is the quiet force that turns repetition into speed, and speed into inevitability. It is the moment when small, steady actions stop feeling like effort and begin to feel like movement. It is the silent engine beneath every lasting achievement. Momentum begins in the ordinary. It is not a flash of genius or a single heroic act. It is the accumulation of tiny, consistent choices that over time create a forward pull. The first push is always the hardest. The second is easier. The third begins to feel natural. Keep pushing, and the resistance that once felt immovable becomes the very thing that carries you forward. Imagine a train at rest. The engineer applies force. Wheels grind. The engine strains. For a long while, the landscape does not change. Then slowly, the train inches forward. Speed builds. The effort required to keep moving falls. By the time the train reaches cruising velocity, the same engine that struggled at the start now sustains motion with less apparent strain. That is momentum. It rewards persistence and punishes impatience. Momentum is neutral. It amplifies whatever you feed it. If your daily actions are aligned with growth, momentum will accelerate your progress. If your daily actions are aligned with drift, momentum will accelerate decline. This is why the early phase matters more than most people realize. The habits you form, the systems you build, the tiny choices you repeat, these determine the direction of the force that will later carry you. Listen to the sound of rising wind. It begins as a whisper. It becomes a gust. It becomes a gale. The same is true for effort. Small wins compound. A single completed task begets confidence. Confidence begets more action. Action begets results. Results beget belief. Belief begets more action. The loop tightens. The engine spins faster. Before long, what once required willpower becomes automatic momentum. Persistence is the currency of momentum. Show up when you do not feel like it. Do the work when the novelty has faded. Keep the rhythm when the applause is absent. Momentum is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the quiet hours when no one is watching. The person who endures the flat phase, the long stretch where progress is invisible, will be the one who eventually feels the surge. Design your life to favor momentum. Reduce friction for the behaviors you want to repeat. Make the first step ridiculously small. 2 minutes of practice, 1 paragraph written, 1 call made. Lower the activation energy until starting is inevitable. Celebrate the repeat, not the result. A streak is a signal to your brain, this is what you do. Protect that streak. It is the seed of momentum. Measure progress in small increments. Momentum is easier to sustain when you can see it forming. Track minutes, not miracles. Record repetitions, not outcomes. Visible progress creates feedback loops that encourage continuation. When you can point to a line that moves upward, even slightly, it becomes easier to keep moving. Expect resistance. Momentum does not erase friction, it overcomes it. There will be days when the wind feels like a wall. There will be setbacks, interruptions, and plateaus. Treat them as temporary. Adjust, but do not abandon. The speed of recovery matters. A quick return to routine preserves momentum far better than a dramatic restart after a long pause. Leverage compounding by stacking actions. Small behaviors linked together create disproportionate force. A morning routine that includes movement, reading, and focused work compounds across the day. Each element supports the others. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Build sequences that feed momentum rather than fragment it. Use momentum to expand capacity. Once movement begins, increase the load gradually. Add time, complexity, or intensity in small increments. The train does not leap to top speed, it accelerates. Respect the curve. Push too hard, too fast, and you risk burnout. Increase the challenge in ways that the system can absorb. Momentum thrives on sustainable escalation. Guard against complacency. Momentum can lull you into overconfidence. The same force that carries you forward can carry you off course if you stop steering. Regularly reassess direction. Keep the purpose clear. Momentum is a tool. It is not the destination. Use it to move toward what matters, not merely to move for the sake of motion. Momentum is also social. Surround yourself with people who add force to your direction. Shared routines, mutual accountability, and collective standards amplify individual momentum. A team moving together creates a field of force that makes progress easier and setbacks less damaging. Choose companions who increase your forward pull. Finally, remember that momentum is patient. It does not rush. It rewards those who persist long enough to feel it. The early days are often quiet and unrewarding. That is the test. Keep the rhythm. Keep the small promises. Let the wind build. Let the train gather speed. Let the waves grow until they carry you. Momentum is the silent engine of success. It begins with a single, deliberate step. It grows with repetition. It accelerates with persistence. Stay consistent long enough to feel it, and you will discover that the work you once forced becomes the force that carries you forward. Chapter 5. Influences. The hidden hands shaping you. City chatter. Voices rise and fall. A radio hums beneath the noise. Sounds overlap, then fade. Around you, 1,000 small signals press inward. They are not neutral. They shape what you think, what you want, and what you will do next. These are the hidden hands, people, media, and surroundings that compound into your mindset. Influence is quiet and cumulative. It does not demand consent. It arrives as a suggestion, a pattern, a repeated cue, a friend's offhand remark, a feed that favors outrage, and a workplace that normalizes hurry. Each nudge is small, Each nudge is repeated. Over time, they add up. The compound effect does not only apply to your actions, it applies to the inputs you accept. What you expose yourself to becomes the soil in which your habits and beliefs grow. People matter more than you think. Social networks transmit behavior like a current. Energy, standards, and expectations flow through relationships. Surround yourself with people who model the behaviors you want. Seek companions who raise the bar, not lower it. The company you keep is not merely social, it is structural. It defines what you consider normal, possible, and acceptable. If your circle tolerates mediocrity, mediocrity becomes contagious. If your circle values craft, curiosity, and discipline, those qualities spread too. Media is a sculptor of attention. Algorithms reward what is loud, not what is true. Repetition breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds acceptance. The more you consume a narrative, the more it colors your perception. Curate your inputs. Choose sources that inform rather than inflame. Limit the noise that fragments attention. Replace passive scrolling with deliberate reading. Replace sensational feeds with steady voices that teach, not just titillate. Environment is the silent architect. The layout of your home, the design of your workspace, the cues in your kitchen, these are not aesthetic choices only. They are behavioral levers. A cluttered desk invites distraction. A visible water bottle invites hydration. A book on the pillow invites reading. Design your spaces so the right action is the easiest action. Reduce friction for what you want to repeat. Increase friction for what you want to avoid. Choice architecture matters. Defaults are powerful. When you automate savings, you build wealth without daily heroics. When you set a default of walking after lunch, you build health without repeated negotiation. Use defaults to your advantage. Pre-commit to decisions that align with your long-term goals. The fewer choices you must make in the moment, the less you will be swayed by fatigue, emotion, or impulse. Boundaries protect attention. Say no to invitations that erode your priorities. Limit exposure to people and media that drain rather than fuel you. Create time blocks where you are unreachable. Treat those blocks as sacred. The world will always demand your presence. You must decide where to give it. Guard your attention as if it were currency, because it is. Toxic influences are often subtle. They arrive as jokes, as small tolerances, as repeated cynicism. They erode standards slowly, like water on stone. Notice the patterns that sap your energy. The colleague who normalizes complaining. The friend who celebrates shortcuts. The feed that rewards outrage. Remove or reduce those influences. Replace them with people and inputs that model the behaviors you want to embody. Leverage positive contagion. Seek mentors who have done what you want to do. Join groups where the norm is progress. Use accountability to amplify good choices. A partner who notices your streaks makes it harder to quit. A community that values craft makes excellence the default. Social proof is a tool. Use it to make the right action feel normal. Media literacy is a skill. Question headlines. Check sources. Notice emotional hooks. Train yourself to consume with purpose. Ask, what is this input asking me to feel? What action does it want from me? If the answer is agitation, pause. If the answer is curiosity, proceed. Curate a small set of reliable voices and return to them often. Depth beats breadth when it comes to shaping thought. Design rituals that inoculate you against negative influence. Morning routines that begin with reading, movement, and reflection set the tone for the day. Evening rituals that include gratitude and review close the loop. Rituals create predictable cues that reduce the power of external noise. They make you less reactive and more intentional. Small changes in environment compound. Move the phone out of the bedroom. Place a notebook by the door. Subscribe to one thoughtful newsletter. Unfollow accounts that reward outrage. Each adjustment is minor. Together, they reshape the field of influence around you. Remember, influence is not fate. You are not merely a product of your surroundings. You are an agent who can design inputs. Start by auditing what you consume and who you spend time with. Make deliberate edits. Test changes for a month. Observe the shifts in mood, attention, and action. Iterate. Influence compounds like interest. Feed it well, and it becomes an ally. Feed it poorly, and it becomes an enemy. Choose your voices. Choose your spaces. Choose your company. Build an environment that amplifies the person you want to become. City chatter. Voices fade in and out. You decide which voices stay. You decide which hands shape you. Choose with intention and let the right influences compound into the life you want. Chapter 6. Acceleration, multiplying results. A pen scratches. The clock ticks faster. The sound tightens, like breath before a sprint. Acceleration is the moment when steady effort stops merely adding and begins multiplying. It is the difference between slow growth and exponential change. It is the art of turning awareness into leverage and repetition into rapid return. Acceleration begins with measurement. What you track becomes visible. What is visible becomes manageable. Without measurement, progress is a rumor. With measurement, it is a map. Track minutes, not miracles. Track repetitions, not rhetoric. Track inputs, pages read, calls made, steps taken, rather than only outcomes. Inputs are the controllable levers. Outcomes are the delayed echoes. When you measure the right inputs, you create a feedback loop that informs small, timely adjustments. Feedback loops are the engine of refinement. Do something. Observe the result. Adjust. Repeat. The loop is simple, but its power is profound. Awareness without action is vanity. Action without feedback is waste. Combine both, and you create a system that learns. A pen scratch becomes data. A faster tick becomes signal. Over time, tiny adjustments compound into dramatic improvement. Clarity sharpens acceleration. Define the metric that matters most for the goal you seek. If you want strength, measure consistent load and recovery. If you want influence, measure conversations initiated and ideas shared. If you want financial security, measure savings rate and recurring investments. One clear metric, tracked faithfully, focuses attention and reduces noise. It becomes a compass in a world of distractions. Small experiments accelerate learning. Treat your actions like hypotheses. Try a change for a short, defined period. Measure the effect. Keep what works. Discard what does not. This scientific approach reduces risk and increases speed. It prevents paralysis by analysis and replaces it with disciplined iteration. The faster you test, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the faster you compound advantage. Automation multiplies results. Once you know which inputs matter, automate them. Automate savings so wealth grows without daily negotiation. Automate backups so work is protected without constant thought. Automate reminders so habits persist when willpower wanes. Automation does not remove responsibility, it preserves it. It converts intention into reliable action and frees attention for higher-order decisions. Leverage is the multiplier. Find the activities that produce disproportionate returns and invest more there. A single keystone habit, sleep, movement, focused reading, can amplify many areas of life. A single relationship, mentor, partner, coach, can accelerate learning and accountability. Seek leverage in tools, in people, and in routines. Multiply the inputs that multiply other inputs. Speed without direction is noise. Acceleration must be aligned with purpose. Increase velocity toward what matters, not merely toward motion. Regularly check alignment. Ask, is this faster movement bringing me closer to the life I want? If not, slow down, recalibrate, and then accelerate again. Momentum without aim becomes drift. Acceleration without clarity becomes burnout. Feedback must be honest and timely. Delayed or softened feedback blunts learning. Create systems that deliver immediate, unvarnished signals. A daily log, a weekly review, a monthly metric. Short cycles reveal patterns early, allowing micro-corrections that prevent large errors. The discipline of frequent review is the difference between slow correction and costly course changes. Compound improvements by stacking small wins. A 5% improvement in several linked behaviors compounds into a large advantage. Improve clarity of focus by 5%. Improve execution by 5%. Improve recovery by 5%. The combined effect is multiplicative, not merely additive. Small, consistent upgrades across the system accelerate results faster than heroic, isolated efforts. Protect the runway. Acceleration requires space to build. Avoid sudden, unnecessary changes that cut the runway short. Preserve energy, protect relationships, and maintain reserves. The fastest growth is sustainable growth. Short-term spikes that burn resources create fragile momentum. Build acceleration on a foundation that can carry increased speed. Use data to remove bias. We are storytellers by nature. We prefer narratives that flatter. Data forces truth. Let numbers challenge your assumptions. If a habit is not producing measurable benefit, change it. If a routine yields disproportionate returns, double down. The humility to follow evidence accelerates progress more than confidence alone. Celebrate signals, not only milestones. A small uptick in consistency, a shorter recovery time, a clearer decision. These are the signals that acceleration is forming. Reward the process. Reinforce the behaviors that produce the signal. Celebration is not indulgence. It is reinforcement. It teaches the brain which actions to repeat. Teach your systems to scale. What works for 1 hour should work for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Build processes that are simple, repeatable, and resilient. Complexity kills speed. Simplicity preserves it. Document the steps that produce results. Make them transferable. The ability to scale a small success into a larger system is the essence of acceleration. Accountability multiplies velocity. Share your metrics with someone who will notice. A partner, a coach, a team. External observers create pressure that sharpens follow-through. Public commitments increase the cost of quitting and the reward of persistence. Use accountability to convert intention into sustained action. Finally, remember that acceleration is a discipline, not a trick. It requires measurement, feedback, iteration, and alignment. It asks for patience in the early phase and courage in the scaling phase. It rewards those who treat their lives like experiments, curious, rigorous, and relentless. The pen scratches, the clock ticks faster. Listen to the rhythm, measure it, learn from it, refine it. Then, with intention and discipline, let acceleration multiply the results you have already earned. Chapter 7. The Edge. Living ahead of 99%. Sunrise, birds call. A soft crescendo of strings lifts the air. Light arrives slowly, then insistently. This is the sound of an ordinary morning becoming extraordinary. The edge is not a secret shortcut. It is the quiet margin created by small, consistent choices repeated long enough to compound into advantage. Greatness is not a single thunderclap. It is a shoreline shaped by countless tiny waves, each one modest, each one inevitable. The person who lives ahead of 99% is not a different species. They are the one who understood the arithmetic of smallness and the patience of time. They chose the extra page, the extra minute, the extra refusal. They kept showing up when others stopped noticing. Listen to the dawn. It does not hurry, it repeats. So must you. Build keystone habits that ripple, sleep that sharpens judgment, movement that fuels energy, reading that expands perspective, small savings that compound into security. Stack these habits. Protect them. Automate what you can. Make the right choice the default. Over months and years, these modest investments yield disproportionate returns. Momentum matters. Habits matter. Influence matters. Measurement matters. The edge is the intersection of all four. The deliberate alignment of daily inputs with a long-term horizon. It is the discipline to design your environment, the courage to cut toxic influences, the humility to measure what matters, and the stubbornness to persist through the flat phase. These are not glamorous acts, they are architectural. Guard your attention. The modern world sells urgency and distraction. The edge is carved by those who choose focus over frenzy. Protect one block of time each day for your highest value work. Treat it as sacred. Reduce options that fragment your will. Design defaults that favor the future you want. A single uninterrupted hour, repeated, compounds into mastery. A single uninterrupted morning, repeated, compounds into a life. Measure and refine. Track inputs, not only outcomes. A clear metric becomes a compass. Small experiments accelerate learning. Try a change for a short, defined period. Measure the effect. Keep what works. Discard what does not. The faster you test, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the faster compounding multiplies your gains. Use feedback to prune what wastes energy and to double down on what produces leverage. Surround yourself with the right field. Influence compounds like interest. Choose companions who raise standards. Curate media that informs rather than inflames. Create rituals that inoculate you against drift. Social proof is a force. Let it push you forward. Seek mentors who have walked the path. Join groups where the norm is progress. Shared standards make excellence easier to sustain. Forgive quickly and return. Setbacks will come. The ledger will show withdrawals. The difference between those who fall behind and those who live ahead is not perfection. It is recovery speed. Reset fast. Resume the rhythm. Momentum rewards the quick return. One missed day does not erase months of practice. One quick return preserves momentum. Leverage small wins. A 5% improvement across several linked behaviors compounds into a large advantage. Improve clarity of focus by 5%. Improve execution by 5%. Improve recovery by 5%. The combined effect is multiplicative, not merely additive. Small, consistent upgrades across the system accelerate results faster than heroic, isolated efforts. Design for sustainability. Acceleration without runway is fragile. Build systems that survive boredom and setbacks. Protect relationships. Preserve reserves. Increase load gradually. The train does not leap to top speed. It accelerates. Respect the curve. Push too hard, too fast, and you risk burnout. Increase the challenge in ways the system can absorb. Language shapes action. Replace "I'll try" with "I will." Replace "someday" with "today's step." Words narrow ambiguity and increase follow-through. Identity follows action. Act like the person you want to be, and repetition will make that person real. Each choice is a vote. Votes become a majority. Majority becomes identity. Use defaults to your advantage. Automate savings, automate backups, automate small decisions that otherwise drain willpower. Reduce friction for the behaviors you want to repeat. Increase friction for the ones you want to avoid. The fewer choices you must make in the moment, the less you will be swayed by fatigue, emotion, or impulse. Accountability multiplies velocity. Share your metrics with someone who will notice. A partner, a coach, a team. External observers create pressure that sharpens follow-through. Public commitments increase the cost of quitting and the reward of persistence. Use accountability to convert intention into sustained action. Celebrate the process. Reward the signals, not only the milestones. A small uptick in consistency, a shorter recovery time, a clearer decision. These are the signals that compounding is forming. Reinforce the behaviors that produce the signal. Celebration is not indulgence. It is reinforcement. It teaches the brain which actions to repeat. Cut what drains you. Toxic influences arrive as jokes, tolerances, and repeated cynicism. They erode standards slowly, like water on stone. Notice the patterns that sap your energy. The colleague who normalizes complaining, the friend who celebrates shortcuts, the feed that rewards outrage. Remove or reduce those influences. Replace them with people and inputs that model the behaviors you want to embody. Teach your systems to scale. What works for 1 hour should work for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Build processes that are simple, repeatable, and resilient. Complexity kills speed. Simplicity preserves it. Document the steps that produce results. Make them transferable. The ability to scale a small success into a larger system is the essence of the edge. Finally, begin. Not with a grand plan, but with a single, deliberate step. Read 1 page. Walk for 5 minutes. Save a small amount today. Make 1 call that matters. Repeat tomorrow. Repeat the next day. Keep the cadence. Let the sunrise be your witness. The edge is not reserved for the gifted. It is the natural consequence of small, smart choices compounded over time. Start small. Stay consistent. Let compounding carry you forward. Live ahead of 99% by doing the ordinary with extraordinary persistence.